What if the first human weren't fully human? We think we know what it means to be human. We build cities. We write books. We launch satellites. We map genomes. We tame rivers. We defy gravity. We chase stars. But being human didn't begin with alphabets or empires. It began with fear, with fire, with footsteps in the dark. Long before kings, before gods, before written words. There were others, not quite like us, but not entirely different. And they may have made us who we are. What if the beginning of humanity wasn't a moment, but a process? What if the first humans weren't chosen, but forged? Forged by cold winds, by sharpened stone, by the long patience of survival. Bones without names. Archaeologists call them Homo habilis, Homo erectus, archaic Homo sapiens, but their tools tell a richer story than their names. They shape stone not for art, but to survive. A scraper for skinning hide, a flake for splitting sinew, a hand axe chipped with intention. They cracked bones to drink marrow. They scavenged before they hunted. They watched predators to learn, and learned to avoid becoming prey. They walked across continents with no maps. They learned fire, not to worship but to gather. Fire was their anchor, their language, their shelter. They knew silence better than speech. They left no written history, but in caves their ashes whisper. A burnt stick here, a broken spear there, and in between, the space where someone lived, someone tried, someone hoped. We call them primitive, but they survived what most could not. The first choices that shaped us, they traveled vast distances, through cold, through hunger, through danger. Somewhere along the way, they learned to share food, to bury their dead, to teach their young. Not because it was moral, but because it worked. Cooperation wasn't a philosophy. It was a survival strategy. They didn't believe in kindness. They lived it, around a shared kill, around a fire in a storm, in the passing of knowledge from hand to hand. And in that moment, empathy began to matter more than muscle. We think of them as animals, but animals don't mourn. Animals don't teach toolmaking with pride. Animals don't bury the stillborn in fetal position with ochre on the skin. They did. How they saw the world. They read danger in the wind. They read seasons in the stars. They listened for footsteps in the grass. They mimicked the calls of prey and predators. They painted on cave walls, maybe to warn, maybe to remember, maybe to dream. Symbols of bison, hands like ghosts, spirals and hunts and storms in red and black and ash. Their leaders weren't kings. They were survivors, the strongest, the wisest, the kindest. They passed knowledge not through books, but through example, through firelight, through touch. They didn't pray to gods, but they looked at the stars and felt something. They didn't name the moon, but they followed it anyway. The ones who didn't stay alone. They weren't the only ones. Neanderthals lived in Europe, Denisovans in Asia, and ghost populations still unnamed left traces in our DNA. We didn't just fight them, we lived with them, loved them, merged with them. Modern humans carry Neanderthal DNA. Melanesians carry Denisovan genes. We are all hybrids. Humanity was never a single line. It was a tangled web of becoming. Some of us still carry the shape of their skulls, the strength of their hands, the memory of their cold-adapted blood. They weren't others, they were ancestors. Traces in our cells, our immune system, shaped by Neanderthals. Our skin tone, mosaic from different ancient hominins. Our emotions, refined through firelight stories and loss. Inside every one of us is a memory. Not one we recall, but one we carry. They didn't know our names, but we are written in theirs. Their decisions echo in our habits. Their migrations built our maps. Their fears molded our reflexes. That restlessness you feel, it's theirs. That instinct to gather when scared, theirs too. That ache when someone dies, passed down through 10,000 funerals. And those funerals mattered. They placed stones around the body, painted the skull, sang or hummed or wept. We don't know the tune, but we inherited the silence after. Extinction came for most of all these ancient peoples. Only one lineage survived. Us, but even that survival was narrow. Climate shifted, ice advanced, many perished. Homo naledi, Homo floresiensis, gone. We made it through, not because we were better, but perhaps because we were lucky, because we shared. What defined human wasn't intelligence alone. It was adaptability. It was cooperation. It was memory. We buried our dead. We mourned out loud. We remembered who was lost. We passed their stories to those who came next. And so they stayed with us, even after they were gone. The Human Mosaic. When you look in the mirror, you do not see a beginning. You see a compilation of thousands of generations, of quiet courage and whispered knowledge. You are not Homo sapiens alone. You are fire sharers, star followers, survivors of volcanic winters and predator eyes. You are 300,000 years of trial, and every one of them still lives in you. Each scar on your genome is a lesson. Each mutation, a whisper of challenge met. You are not an individual. You are a legacy. What they left behind. And they left no books, but they left stories in scars, in tools, in genes. They left no songs, but they danced. They left no names. They named us. They taught without knowing it. They built futures without ever seeing them. Every shelter they raised was a prototype. Every fire they built was a promise. They were not perfect. They were not civilized, but they were human. Long before we called ourselves that, they looked at the stars and wondered, just like we do. They held their children close in the dark, just like we do. They asked why, and they listened to the wind for answers. The final whisper. So the next time you ask, where did we come from? Look beneath your feet. Look into your blood. Listen to the wind. Because the story of us was never just ours. It was theirs, too. It still is. And when the last monument crumbles and the last book fades, their story will still be told in us. And remember that before we knew what human meant, we were already becoming it. Subscribe to Epic Echoes and uncover the stories buried in bone, stone, and time.